Why didn't the Dogs win it all in 2023? There was a lot of transition at some really important places in their program. And this is something that CBS was writing about not that long ago. I don't want to piggyback on top of it. They write of college football's last 10 national championships. So this is the college football playoff era. The national champions have returned at least three of the following four: the head coach, the offense coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and a quarterback who started at least 4 games the season before. So that is probably the Stetson Bennett, the Stetson Bennett clause. Because in 2020, if you remember, he started against Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky. So that's when Georgia won it in 2021. Because there was some in 2022. Of course, Dan Lanning had left, but they returned, offense coordinator, quarterback, and coach. So it was Georgia. It will be curious to see what happens at Ohio State and Alabama now. Because at Ohio State, you're losing your starting quarterback and your offensive coordinator. And by the way, that's at Alabama. At Ohio State, you're losing your starting quarterback and your offensive coordinator. I want to say this about Ohio State. Ohio State's defense has improved appreciably. I mean, it is not just noticeable. It is clear that they are not the joke of a defense that they were. I mean, you got to think back. I mean, when I'll look up Ohio State in a little bit, but just the national championship game against Alabama in 2026, and that was a really, 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 really powerful offensive group from Bama at the time. But still, man, that scored 50 points or whatever it was against them. No. And then the struggles that they had against Michigan in 21 and 22 with the amount of points. I mean, Georgia scored 40 on them, 42 to be precise. I think it was in 2022. Ohio State's gotten noticeably better, but on defense. But they're going to have to, it's going to have to be a holistic thing at Ohio State. And I will say, once you start changing too many pieces, it's not good. The quarterback moving is not ideal either. So at Alabama, you return the quarterback, everything else changed. And, Jalen Milroe sticking around, because there was some discussion of him leaving. Now, whether that was real or not, I couldn't say on Cover Alabama. But that would have been even more dreadful, I think, for Bama. But you get him back, but everything else around him's changed. You're going in with a new system. That could help Milroe be more productive as a quarterback. He is not Michael Penix, though. I mean, that they're different quarterbacks completely. Milroe is obviously deadly with his legs, but he seems to me streakier than he is anything else. There were times where he played really well, and you would not notice it in the numbers. So at Georgia, you're literally returning all four facets of this, so-called formula. You got Georgia, Oregon's got 3 of 4, Texas 4 of 4. The only caveat I always have with Texas is they're entering a new league. Will that matter? I don't know. Ole Miss 4 of 4, Mizzou 3 of 4, Florida State 3 of 4. Florida State is getting popped by a lot of these people really do not think that Florida State is going to be a top 15 team in some of these projections. That would be disturbing. Ohio State bringing back 2 of 4, Penn State 2 of 4, Alabama 1 of 4, as I mentioned. Oklahoma better watch it. They're bringing back 1 of 4, which is their head coach, and they're entering in a league that is the real deal, and they are definitely getting a very difficult schedule out of that, for sure. Even if they're hosting Alabama, Oklahoma's schedule is not for the faint of heart. I mean, it is not an easy schedule at all. And, I don't know who they angered at the league office, but let me just type this in here. Yeah. So they go Tennessee, Auburn, Texas. Now, there's an off week before the Texas game. Then it's Carolina. And then there's Ole Miss. Then they play Maine for some reason. And then they play at Missouri. and then they host Bama and LSU. They very well could lose and probably should lose their last 3 games. So if they don't build it up along the way, it's going to be a problem. They should beat Auburn. That game's on the road. Like, you know, nothing in the Big 12. I've been to, listen, Oklahoma State is not Auburn. It's not Auburn. It's not. And Oklahoma State's a really good program in the Big 12. It's not playing at Auburn, is what I'm trying to say. They play Texas. They're going to play, I think, 5 top 12 teams. Okay, they're going to play Texas, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Bama, and LSU, and 3 of those 5 games are their last 3 games of the season. So Oklahoma had better be ready. LSU, they're at 1 of 4. They return, I guess, the head coach, and that's it. Their schedule's what it always is, basically. So, you know, that'll be challenging. Plus, they play USC. And then Michigan and Washington, total changeover. So, when you look at it, like, the pressure's on Ohio State. I don't know why there's so much pressure on Ohio State. They're not the best team coming into this thing. They're probably the second best team. But I don't think they're the third. But they're not the first. But the pressure is number 1 on Ohio State. I don't know how fair that is, but there's no such thing as fair. We're not worried about fair. It's just what it is. And, you know, they're the ones who have got some change. Now, Ohio State, in their defense, you know, just as an aside, Ohio State does get to kind of roll their way into this thing. The beginning of their schedule is not that bad, and then they can kind of take it from there. So it's not the end of the world for them, but I don't know. They don't. Ohio State didn't play anybody until I think early October, which is their trip to Oregon, which they better get ready for. This is a Savannah Adirondack chair. You can call our buddies, which used to be EcoPoly, it's SoPoly now, 478-374-6398. Thanks to our sponsors. We can't do this stuff without our sponsors, y'all. It costs real money to fly to Dallas, to fly to Austin. So Dallas for Media Days, Austin for the Texas game, Ole Miss, Jacksonville. These are all games where we have to have hotel rooms. Lexington. We can't do it without their support. 478-374-6393. SoPoly dealers are all throughout the country. All you have to do is go to sopoly.com. These are all made in America products. I send these every single day, okay? Every single day I sit in this chair and talk with y'all. Please support SoPoly because they're supporting us, okay? It is an outstanding quality company. They are employing Georgians. I want to talk more about them over time. Just believe me, contact one of their dealers and get yourself what you want today. You got your backyard to redo? Get SoPoly, y'all. It's the way to do it. Ohio State's got the pressure? Sure. But Georgia's the one that has, you know, everything, in quotations, that they need to get back. Of all these teams, and this is CBS's reporting, not mine, Georgia, Texas, and Ole Miss are the only teams in the top 13 from this past season that have everybody coming back. The top 4 coming back. In today's world of the transfer portal, it's hard to say, oh, for sure, this one thing matters. You know, because, like, guys move. But the coordinator does matter. The quarterback matters, okay. The head coach matters the most. Probably then the quarterback. But the coordinators and the quarterback, they matter a lot. At Georgia, at some point, Glenn Schumann's going to leave. He will get the Penn State job, or he'll be the head coach at Oklahoma. You know, he's going to get a legitimate big-time job. He's not going to be at Georgia forever. You know, Mike Bobo, I don't know. You know, he very well could be at Georgia for some time. So you're going to have continuity, but you need some continuity. You know, look at Georgia's so Kirby's worst 2 seasons, if you want to call it that, were 2016 and 2020. And, you know, those coincided in both cases with trouble at quarterback and new offensive coordinators. A season later, in both cases, Georgia played for or won the national championship. Well, guess what? We're a season later. They didn't have quarterback problems last year, but we did have a new, quarterback. We had a new quarterback at Georgia, and we had a new offensive coordinator at Georgia. But those things, we're now a year later. Should they win the national championship or play for it? You tell me down below. Thanks for watching.